Good morning. I am Kevin Price. Delighted to be with you, talking to you about you and your business. It's Monday morning, and what we do here on Monday mornings, we spend time with Steve Beaman. He's with the Society for the Advancement of Financial Education, which I'm with also. Got big events coming in August. Looking forward to him coming in here and not only educating, but helping to empower business owners and individuals everywhere. Steve, before we do our daily, our weekly rather, assessment of what's happening in the news front and how it might impact individuals in the days to come, why don't you kind of spend a little time giving us both an update of what's happening with the society and also just kind of let people know what the society is all about.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much for that. And as always, good morning. It's a pleasure to spend Monday with everybody down in the Houston area. The society is all about empowerment, and we're trying to teach people the things they need to know in the financial and economic area so they can build better lives. As you know, our nation is struggling through a challenging transition this 21st century, and we want to make sure people are on the front end of that, and they'll benefit from it rather than suffer from it. So the society is all about education and empowerment, and we work with both individuals and small businesses, helping them along the way. We're doing an awful lot. We had a great week last week. We had a good meeting with some friends of ours at Turning Point USA, which is a group of young Americans out to build prosperity and understand the issues faced by our nation today. In addition, I was notified that I'll be the keynote speaker at the Jumpstart Foundation annual meeting in Chicago at the Federal Reserve in July. So both through the Jumpstart Foundation, the Turning Point folks, I think all of that, Kevin, and what we're doing, we're going to be able to start moving the dial in America today.
Yeah, and that's what we need. We need to start getting that happening, and we need the younger generation to become more and more cognizant of what's happening out there, and that's exactly what Turning Point is going to help facilitate, correct?
That's exactly right. Charlie Kirk, who founded that's a good friend of mine, and he's done a wonderful job building chapters across this country. I think they have 80 active chapters now, and they are part of rebuilding this American experience that you and I have benefited from, that so many of us have, and making sure that we sustain it for the generations to follow.
Yeah, very, very good. I encourage people to learn more about it. I love the great work that I'm proud to be a part of what we're doing with the society, and really excited about the events that we're going to have to help increase its footprint here throughout the rest of 2013 as we go into 2014. It's hard to believe we're already in the approaching the second half of the year.
That's right, and the elections will start soon, and I think a lot of what we're doing is not political in its very nature, but trying to make an educated population so we can eliminate this issue of the low-information voter. We want people to know what's going on, and we want them to make their own decisions based upon knowledge, not based upon fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
So, Mr. Obama, let's transfer our conversation, make that transition over to the talk of the news. Mr. Obama, Senator Obama, as you remember, would love to beat up on the Bush administration for its infringement on civil liberties and privacy and those type of things. Yet, if it wasn't enough with the AP scandal, it wasn't enough of trying to take a prosecutory approach with a Fox reporter, if it wasn't enough, all these other scandals that are breaking loose that were violating our civil liberties, we find out that in fact the government has been working with Verizon, or should I say the other way around, Verizon has been cooperating with the government, providing very important information about Verizon users. It's just incredible. What do you think?
Well, Kevin, I tell you what I think is that sometimes these issues become bipartisan, and this one certainly has. You've got the author of the Patriot Act, Jim Sensenbrenner, who came out in an interview last week and berated the administration for using it in this way. I think all Americans, Republican, Democrat, progressive, conservative, need to be aware that an overbearing government is dangerous. You may like it when your guy's in power, but when the next guy comes around, it may not fit your cup of tea. And this abuse of our civil liberties with just throwing a wide net on the Verizon customers to see if there's anything there they should look into, that is the exact opposite of the intent of innocent until proven guilty.
Yep, and now I'm seeing that they've also been, the National Security Administration has been tapping in to social media. They have gotten secret files from social media, including Facebook, Google and many others. When does it stop?
Well, Kevin, I think that's why we're doing what we're doing. We have to move the needle in this country. This is not a partisan issue anymore. This is an issue of the people versus the government. It has taken great strides in the last many years, in fact, decades, to infringe upon our rights to be free and independent people. And they're allowing it to happen because so many Americans aren't aware of what's going on. They hear the spin through the media. They don't know who to ask for truth. They don't know where to get honest answers. You know, you and I have talked in the past about myths and misrepresentations that people buy into, all designed to keep them down. And the society is all about exploding those myths and bringing people to truth so they can make good decisions on who they put in office.
Yeah, no question about it. I got several other news stories, of course, I want to cover. Anything catch your attention last week we need to cover?
Well, clearly it was the issue of this surveillance of the Verizon customers and the scanning of the social networks. I think of all the stories last week, that one just jogged my mind. I was very pleased the markets held up. We did get an employment report. We got revisions down for the different months through the year, which is typical. They release employment and then they revise it down. So we continue to see an anemic recovery at best. I think people are afraid of the rising interest rate potentiality that exists. Ben Bernanke has come out and said he won't continue buying the $85 billion a month he's buying in federal treasuries. So that leaves a vacuum there, which will cause rates to rise. And so I'm pleased the markets held their own, but I would caution folks, to the extent they're invested in the markets, we always tell them to be prudent and look for ways to hedge those investments.
Yeah, no question about it. No question about it. Talking to, again, Steve Beaman. He's with the Society for the Advancement of Financial Education. We do this every single Monday, getting you up to date and informed what's happening. So, I just continue to find it interesting, that you were talking about the unemployment figures, and I saw some fascinating figures from in U.S. Daily Review last week, where it was talking about the National Federation of Independent Businesses said that unemployment, actually hiring among small businesses plummeted in May, among the worst they've seen since 2009, even though the overall numbers were slightly better than what they had been for quite some time. But now, unemployment is just stuck at 7.6%.
Well, Kevin, it was about a year ago. I was on Stuart Varney's program on Fox TV, and they asked me what the impact would be on the business community of the approval by the court of the Affordable Care Act. And I said to Stuart, and I say it once again, what this will do is cause fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the small business community. It will have them stop hiring because they don't understand how to implement this program. It's not so much the cost of the 22 new taxes, it's the regulations that they don't know how to deal with. And many small businesses are afraid. They're afraid to be in violation, so they're not going to hire. They'll look for these professional employment outsourcing groups to help them with people, and they'll look on ways to create efficiency where they don't need employment. So this Affordable Care Act is materially impactful on the small and mid-sized businesses, just as we predicted.
Yep. Well, and later on in the program, Melissa Rascon, she's with the CPA firm of Oman, Berry and Associates. She's going to talk about exactly what you're talking about. What I don't think most people realize is that what will happen in January 2014 when they determine rates and costs and things like that when it comes to Obamacare, they're going to use what happened to 12 months before as the perimeter to decide what goes forward. Which means, you know what? If you're thinking about being in the best possible position by January of next year, and if you're worried about having too many employees, now would be the time to start cutting them.
Well, and Kevin, we've got a lot to talk about, so maybe in our second half we can touch on this in the early part of it. I've got a couple of statistics I want to share with your audience that I think will alert them to just how important this is.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll go into a little bit more into that later on in the program. Now, it looks like let's wrap up the segment with a little bit of an international news. It looks like the North Koreans are sending warm and fuzzies to the South Koreans and actually wanting to begin engaging in conversation again. Have you been watching that much?
Yeah, those people are about as predictable as the sun. Here's what happens. Every spring, North Korea runs through a food shortage, and they need to feed their people or they'll starve. So every spring, they rattle the sabers, and they say, we're going to attack. And the West comes in and says, well, how do we make you not attack? And they say, give us food. So we do. So then in the summertime, they come down, and they act a little like the nice neighborhood guy. Well, rest assured that will continue until next spring when they start to get belligerent again.
Yep. So the West gave them food?
Always. We do it through, different groups in the United Nations organizations and different international organizations, so no government has to put its stamp on it, but that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, that's nice.
When you talk internationally, we do see increasing fears of a civil or unrest in the Middle East. Israel is now more directly engaged against Syria. We've got Hezbollah in Lebanon now firing missiles down into Israel. I think we've talked about it for months. This could continue to escalate as a hot zone, and I think it's something we all need to pay attention to.
Steve Beaman, he's here every Monday here on The Price of Business. You're listening to Business Talk 1110 AM KTEK. We'll be back with more right after this.